up, your other girlfriend, so you've been cheating on me? You say I am what poop comes out of? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Vanessa. In today's video, I'm going to be vlogging my experience with a couple of books by Tiffany Roberts. So if you are unfamiliar with Tiffany Roberts, they are a husband and wife duo. They write a lot of fantasy romance kinds of books. Some are kind of like sci-fi-ish, but they all kind of have this fantastical element to them. So we have like humans with fae, humans with spiders, like all kinds of different things. So I have a couple of books that I want to read this week. I don't have all of them just yet. The only one I actually have a physical copy of is Yearning for her. I also have on the way coming Ensnared, and then the last book I have is called His Darkest Craving. These three books I'm gonna try to vlog throughout the next week. This video should go live the day before we do the interview, so hopefully it gets you hyped and excited to come join in on the conversation. We're going to have a fun time with them, asking them questions, and then even playing a cute little game with them. Let's kind of go along and see if they are my taste. The whole reason I wanted to do this was because I'm going to two book conventions where they will be at next year. So the first one being a Polycon, and then the second one being Monster Erotica-Con just a few weeks later. They are going to be at both of these events, and I kind of making it my mission over the next several months to read at least one book by the attending authors, especially the ones going to a Monster Erotica-Con, because there's way less authors going to that one. I think it would be very impossible for me to read from the, I don't know, it feels like hundreds of them that are going to a Polycon, but I do want to get a good sampling of these authors' tastes. So the first one I'm getting started with is Tiffany Roberts. I initially came across them because I was in Barnes & Noble one day really recently. I want to say like in May. I saw this book just like popping out and I was like, oh, how cute. I actually really love the cover. So in this case, I did judge a book by its cover and I bought it. So we're going to see if this is the book for me, and let's get into it.
My hands are shaking, stifle my breath. You look so lovely, it scares me to death. I used to get so insecure with you, it's different. Yeah, just something about you makes me so sure. Don't know what it is, but you make me wanna stay. Take a leap of faith. I know that you're safe, I know that you'll save me. You'll be my parachute, baby, know you'll catch me whenever I fall. I fall. It's like my laces untied, got me tripping right into your arms. Your arms. Headed straight down through the night clouds, so is my heart bounce 10,000 feet, but you're my parachute, baby, know you'll catch me whenever I fall. I know you got me.
I've been reading Yearning for Her. I'm currently on chapter 5, so not super duper far. I did start annotating it a little bit, but so far we have Willow, this character here, aka Violet, because she is obsessed with purple like me. Willow is going out on what she thinks is about to be a proposal by her boyfriend of 3 years, Eli. Eli turns out to be this huge scumbag. He brings her to this fancy Michelin star kind of restaurant, like really hard to get in, hard to get reservations. He's like, oh, I have something important to tell you. I want to take our relationship to the next level. And this is all like in the first chapter, so I'm not spoiling too much. I'm just trying to grab your attention a little bit. She's like, oh, it's gonna happen. It's finally happening after 3 years. Apparently she's been ignoring all of these like red flags that he's been putting out. He goes, hey, meet this other chick, my girlfriend, my other girlfriend. I'm Polly. What? No. I'm polyamorous. And she's like, wait a minute, hold up, your other girlfriend, so you've been cheating on me? And he's like, no, it's not cheating. I just have a lot of like love to give, which I understand, okay? But here's the thing. You can love whoever you want to love, but the people in the relationship need to be in agreement. So like, you can't just go and decide, I'm poly, and go cheat on your partner if that is not what you and your partner have agreed is okay in the relationship. So clearly he has cheated on her. Willow's like, F this. The other girl's like, F this. We deserve better. They bounce. Willow meets Mr. Keon here right outside this restaurant, looking fine as hell. There you go. And he's like, hey, I already underlined one of these quotes, but they're having a little conversation. All Willow wants is to be loved. He's like trying to show his interest in her. He's like, oh, you can come home with me. I'll give you the best night of your life. And she's like, wait, are you telling me you want to have sex with me? And he's like, no, I'm telling you I'm going to have sex with you. And I was like, girl, sold. So then you kind of get some, in the next couple of chapters, very spicy by chapter 3 or 4 already. But then in like the 4th chapter, I think, you get some of Willow's perspective of like how she just really wants to be loved. She has just had a very bad string of dating experiences, and then she had met Eli, and she just ignored a lot of the like red flags that he was putting out. Like, he never let her pick the movies they were gonna watch. He never let her order the food. Like, he always picked the location they were gonna eat. So he kind of was just very controlling. When she would sleep over at his house because they didn't live together yet, it was almost like the next morning he was like shooing her out the door. Like, nothing that was kind of screaming like this is a healthy relationship. It's very like one-sided. I feel like she's just kind of, I think, ignored all of those signs because she just desperately wanted to be loved. And then at the end of chapter 4, you kind of see her being like, F this, like, I don't want to feel this way anymore. I'm gonna get rid of all of Eli's things, like gifts that he's given me. Done with dating, done with lies. I don't want to feel hurt again. So she's like trying to push these feelings away. This is the point where, and this is on the back of the book, but she's like, no, like, I don't want more than just this one night of fun. So I think we're obviously going to see some character progression here, but so far, I'm really liking this book. So I'll catch up with you probably when I get like 50% of the way through the book.
Butterfly feeling, edge of a cliff. Rush of adrenaline in your kiss. Tethered up together, we could go the distance.
Hey guys, so it's a couple days later and I did finish Yearning for Her, and I tapped it in all of its glory. I think I'm gonna give this 5 stars. I've seen a lot of like TikToks and stuff that people are like, oh, this girl is me, she's got purple hair, she's curvy. Yes, okay, I feel that too. And I also am like, oh, she reads smut, she loves the spicy times, you know. Okay, so we really relate, we get along. There's also just like a really good plot with this. It's not just the smutty stuff. So Willow is basically getting away from this terrible relationship that she's been in with her ex for like the past 3 years. He has a lot of red flags, and she goes to this restaurant with her partner of 3 years, and outside of the restaurant is Kian, and he's just kind of chilling there, like just minding his own business. He kind of just happens to be at the right place at the right time for Willow when all the stuff happens at the beginning where Willow and her partner break up because of a certain situation. Anyway, so they go through the book where she's like, oh, dating sucks, like I can't trust men, like men just, they just suck, right? They just totally suck. Eventually Kian is showing her like, no, not all men suck. I'm not even a man, I'm a fae. So anyway, so he shows her love. I guess, I don't know if it's necessarily her love language, but he buys her the whole flower shop of flowers and buys her a toy that was later used, and I just died. I was actually like making dinner when I was listening to that part, and I said, yep, I saw that coming, yep. Wasn't disappointed. There was a good balance between banter and sweet stuff. So I'll give you an example. Let me find one. Okay, so like this one was really funny to me. So he's like, I can promise you pleasure, Willow. Anything else, I can only try. She's like, you saw my bookcase. If I want pleasure, all I need to do is pick a book and break out my vibrator. Happy endings all around. That's all a girl needs. Okay, here's like a sweet moment. This is like when he bought her all the flowers. The flowers get delivered to her house, and she's like, Kian, like, what is all this? And he's like, I bought you flowers, obviously. She's like, when you buy someone flowers, it usually means a single bouquet. This looks like you bought the whole shop. I did. But that must have cost a fortune. Ah, Willow, what value does money hold compared to your happiness? swoon. Let me find you one more example just because I really liked this stuff. Here's a good balance of the romance between them, and you can tell there's like a twinge of like sass there. So she says, "You look well rested," and he said, "And you look well loved." Willow's skin flushed as she approached him. She stopped beside the bed and lightly ran her fingers over the blanket covering him. "I was." Kian reached out and traced one of the bruises he'd left on her hip. His smile faltered. "Did I hurt you?" "No, you didn't. You made me feel good, Kian." He gently covered the bruises with his palm. "You wear my marks well, mortal." So if you were questioning if you should read this book, I don't know why I put this off for so long. I think I was just like hyping it up in my head, and I was like, oh my god, please don't be bad. Like I really, really want to like it. Girl, I loved it. Okay, 5 stars. 5 freaking stars. This has obviously, you know, a main female character that is plus size. We've got a sexy fae. He does have a glamour, so like even though he's got these claws or whatever, when he puts them inside of her, he can actually glamour it where he's not just claws. What I imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what I imagined is that it was kind of like he was able to glamour himself, that he didn't have things that could hurt her. So like maybe he could have human fingers. But anyways, there's a lot of body positivity in here, and loving yourself and feeling confident in yourself, loving a person no matter their appearance, and just like valuing you without the bag of skin here, right? Also, if you don't normally read author's notes, I recommend that you do, because at the back of this book in their author note, I think this was more so from the perspective of Tiffany rather than Robert, because people have asked, like, is the heroine a self-insert of Tiffany? She said the answer is yes and no. While she does have purple hair, green eyes, and a few likes and interests that are similar to mine, she's Willow. I just really, really had to write a purple-haired plus-size heroine who embraced and loved her body because it's what I wish I could do. I fought with my self-image for so many years and still do. It's a tough journey to learn to love yourself and the body you're in despite all its flaws. We know many people struggle with this, that many of you, our beloved readers, struggle with it. Know that we see you and you are beautiful. And that actually, I think, ties back to the dedication page to you because you're beautiful. Okay. Beautiful touches. There was like some really cool information here too. So it says, which brings me to why Willow was a boudoir photographer. At the birth of our 3rd child, I suffered through undiagnosed postpartum depression. I lost so much weight before the pregnancy, but afterward I just couldn't lose it again. I struggled. My sister and I saw an ad from a photographer who was doing boudoir sessions, and like I'm prone to do, I made an impulsive decision and jumped on the chance to do this exciting new thing. So she goes through how she had this photography session. I think we all struggle with that, of just like, oh, these pictures aren't going to turn out good, or like my partner won't like them, or whatever. And she's like, actually just do the damn thing. These pictures blew Rob's mind. He freaking loved them. Like, I thought that was so cute. First book by Tiffany Roberts. Loved it. Smash. Gonna read more. In fact, I just started the next book, His Darkest Craving. So this one follows Sophie and Cruz. I've only read about 25 pages so far, but it sounds like Sophie has left a really bad relationship with her ex-husband. I think he's in jail, and maybe had just gotten out of jail. She moves to this secluded cabin, hoping to like hide, heal, and just be safe. What she doesn't know is that there's some sort of entity, if you can't see this. So obviously this is Cruz, but there's another thing back here that is lurking in the woods. It wants Sophie. It does promise peace, security, passion, but it demands all of her in return. Are we going to get another banger? Let's hope so. So I am currently about 55% through His Darkest Craving. This is the first book in the Cursed One series. So the second one is called His Darkest Desire, but I don't think they are related, because the second one looks like it's about a goblin. Oh, and then I'm looking, it says it's a standalone book. It can be read in any order. This one though is about this like dark entity who I think was once a fae, or had made a deal with the fae queen or something like that. Something went wrong with the pact that he made with the fae queen, and she cursed him, so he's living out as this entity. I don't think we see him yet as this entity just yet. 55% through, at least that's not what I have gathered. Right now we're getting to the part where Sophie is talking about her ex and like some of her trauma around him and like why she is maybe a little bit hesitant to let Cruz into her life. Cruz is trying to say, fine, I'll protect you, like you are my immortal. It's like fated mates basically. And she's like, don't call me yours. He kind of sounds like a stalker when you first meet him. Like he's just kind of this weird entity like creeping up on her. They're just getting into the part where they're talking a little bit about their motivations for why they are where they are right now. So I'm assuming in the last little bit here we're going to have some spicier times as they have met and become more okay with each other. And I was like, this is all happening, it feels like within a short time period, so it kind of feels insta-lovey. So still liking Yearning for Her a lot better. This is only 190 pages, so it's hard to put a lot into 190 pages. You're not going to get some deep dives into character development in 190 pages. In a fantasy kind of world, you're also setting up the world, you're setting up who these characters are, and trying to like tell a little bit about their backstory. But that being said, this isn't a bad book at all. I'm still enjoying myself, but I'm just kind of like coming off of a really good book. So I don't know if this is necessarily living up to the hype, but it's still good. I'm still having a good time. So I'm gonna get into reading the rest of this and hopefully finish it within the next hour or so, because I'm also listening to it on audiobook. So I just finished his Darkest Craving and I really like this one, so I think I'm going to settle on 3.75. Even though it was like insta love, it was kind of slow to start up, and obviously with under 200 pages you don't have a lot of pages to deal with, so for it to be slow, that kind of lowered my enjoyment of it. And the banter, I'm comparing Yearning for Her and this book, unfortunately, so it might just have the book after a 5-star syndrome, but it didn't have the same banter as Yearning for Her did, and I really love banter in books. There wasn't as many like cutesy quotes like Yearning for Her, so I didn't even annotate this one. I think the thing that I chuckled at was actually in the last like 2 or 3 pages. Her best friend's name is Kate. This is in the epilogue where Kate's like, oh, I'm getting married and I want you to be my maid of honor, and Cruz is kind of like, she's not allowed to leave the forest, you guys can't come here. Kind of sounds possessive now that I think about it, which was the whole reason she was trying to leave the first relationship, because he was kind of possessive. Kate said, Sophie and I are basically sisters, so that kind of makes you my brother-in-law. Cruz's eyebrows sank and he narrowed his eyes. Brother in what law? I'm not beholden to your human rules, Kate Morris. So I laughed pretty hard at that. You do meet Tyler, who is the bad guy in this book, who is Sophie's husband, ex-husband. I don't know if they ever got divorced, but he's the one who like went off to jail because you find out that he has been abusive. He like shows up at her door, there's a whole fight that goes down, and then fast forward, Cruz's curse is broken, but he doesn't know how or why it happened. So like I felt like some parts in the story that I wish we had got more of, like maybe we have a better understanding of why the curse was broken. I think it would have been cool to have some backstory behind, like more backstory behind that of this Fae Queen. Maybe it'll show up in some other book of Tiffany Roberts. I have no idea. But yeah, I mean, I thought this was good overall. Like, I'm not disappointed that I read it. I do think it's still a good book worth reading, especially if you want something kind of quick. It was spicy, like minimal spice. I would say compared to Yearning for Her, which had a lot more spice, this one has a little bit less spice than Yearning for Her. So yeah, I am ready to move on to the next book. I'm gonna see how far I can get into Ensnared tonight. So this one, all I know is that it's between a human and a spider. This is part of the Spiders Meet series. I think there's 3 in this one. So let me read the back for you real quick. It says, he spent years as a hunter, but now he's the one ensnared in a creature's trap Catan did not want to meet. Fate has a different plan for him. When the queen he despises declares her intention to claim him, he retreats into the jungle. What he finds there changes his world. Small, delicate, and pale-skinned Ivy Foster is nothing like the females Catan has known. She's not of his kind at all. Yet the moment he sees her, he knows the truth is in his soul. She is his heart's thread. And now that he has her, he won't let anything take her away. Not the jungle, not the gods, not the queen, and her warriors. Whether Ivy agrees or not, their webs are entangled. No one will ever sever those threads. Now this one's dedicated to you, my heart's thread, and to all our fellow monster lovers. I'm gonna get started with this and I will come back at you probably tomorrow with my thoughts, because it is getting later here. It's like 9 o'clock right now. If you're into some weird freaky shit, Ensnared is for you. No, I'm just joking. Okay, so spider smut is not my thing, but I am about 57% through this book, I think. So this is how much more I have left to go over here. Okay, let me give you kind of a rundown of what I think is going on, and this is like kind of a test of my reading comprehension or listening comprehension, because I'm pretty much listening to it. It's helpful to have the book, so like when you're listening to it and you hear names that aren't like Ashley and Brittany, it's kind of hard to figure out like what they're saying. There's a lot of spider names. We've got like Kitan, obviously. Varashi, I think is her name. Takari, Rakash, Urkot, like lots of different unique names for these spiders. Okay, so the first couple of chapters are basically a lot of world building, so you're kind of getting an idea of who Catan is, like in his spider home. I don't know what they call it, but his home. You're learning about his life and who he is. Catan does not want to have a mate, but the queen spider essentially has declared that she has intentions of making Catan her mate. And he's like, nah, F that. And he bounces. He leaves. He ends up falling into this pit. And that's where he finds these pods or whatever. Ivy was in one of these pods, and it was kind of like a cryogenic sleep type of deal. She has no idea how long she has been asleep for, like if it's only been a couple of years or if it's been like hundreds of years or whatever. So he sees Ivy, and there was like some little computer thing that's like, Ivy Foster number blah blah blah, and so he's like trying to comprehend this. She's kind of still groggy from her cryogenic sleep, and so he's just kind of like, I don't know, I imagine he just like threw over his shoulder and started walking away. He's like, I don't have time to assess her here, like I'm gonna take her back to my home and check her out. Eventually Ivy wakes up, and Ivy's kind of like, what the F is going on? She sees this spider, and her first thought is, let's try to communicate. I'd be freaking out if this ginormous spider was touching me and doing so. I don't know. There was a funny part where Catan like touches her boob because they're like trying to communicate. He doesn't know what she is. He doesn't know what a human is, so he's just like touching, and she's like, oh, okay. And it kind of like aroused her. So I was on my walk this morning listening to this, and I was trying to think of like a way to like make this make sense. Ivy and Catan are trying to communicate. Like she's like pointing at her mouth, and she's like mouth, or her hand, and like saying hand and trying to count because he's got like 4 hands. Anyway, so they communicate for a little bit, and they don't actually like start any of the spicy stuff until about chapter 17. So okay, so there's this one scene where Zervashi, she might be one of the queens of this land. I don't know, I'm a little confused on their hierarchy. But anyway, Zervashi, I think, is the queen. She's the one who's like, you are the only suitable mate for me and Takaral. I don't know how to say this. The only one worthy of siring my brood. Your disrespect and disobedience has held my attention for a long while, but now it is time for you to submit to my will, Catan. So she's like, bow down, bend the knee, basically. And he's like, no, I don't want this. And he is trying to get the F out. And he's just basically like, I only want Ivy. It's very much like Fated Mates again. I don't know where Ivy is, but Ivy's like out in the jungle somewhere, and she's kind of like, oh, I wonder when Catan is coming back. She doesn't know how much time has passed. She has like no way of keeping track of time. She's kind of just like having these flashbacks or thinking back to before she was in the cryogenic sleep of how like she had this partner who was really bad to her. Tanner initially like treated her like she was the most important girl in the world, and then after being with him for a couple of months, she like told her parents about him. They actually were like, no, you can't see him anymore, and she was like, F that, and kind of like ran off with him. She wanted to like run away, drop out of school when she was 18, and then after that, like Tanner started doing some really weird stuff. Like he had been recording them while they were doing it. He posted a video called Rough Rooster Makes Virgin Teen Cry, and it was like put out on all of the websites and things like that. She kind of felt very like embarrassed after that, and like, dang, I should have listened to my parents. So you're kind of getting this like backstory of something that had happened to her. I don't know just yet if we found out why she left Earth, so I'm gonna finish this and come back with my final thoughts. Okay, I did not expect to be back so soon. I'm only like 10 pages ahead. Ivy learns that there may be other humans survivors. Remember how I said that like Katana fell in this pit and there were these pods, then Ivy was in one of these pods. Basically, she's like getting upset at him because he won't take her there because it's very dangerous. And she's like, but you were like, that's where you found me. And he's like, no, I fell there. She basically said, you're just such an asshole. He goes, you say I am what poop comes out of? She's like, yes, stinky, yucky poop. And she like turns around and goes the other way. I'm just like, I'm dying over this. Yay! I have finished. So there wasn't as much spooter smut as you would think. It was not really that heavy, to be honest, with the sexy scenes. It was like maybe like one or two. And I will say, this is only the first book in the series, so it did end on kind of a cliffhanger. There's like a big battle at the end. This is a very well developed, I would say it's kind of leaning more sci-fi than fantasy, but you kind of have this like futuristic world where you do later find out that Ivy was on this ship that happened to crash on Katan's planet. Unfortunately, this is kind of a spoiler, but like we don't know if there's any survivors, but likely there are no survivors. This book was probably kind of like slower paced, but that makes sense again because it is one of 3 books in the series. So I wasn't expecting like a whole bunch to be happening in this book. It does really, really nice world building. And honestly, like when you do have those moments of spice, if you will, because there is like obviously one big spicy scene, but when you have those other moments of like Catan trying to understand what a human is and exploring human anatomy, you almost forget sometimes that Catan is this weird spider, but like you don't think of it as a spider on Earth because those are obviously very tiny. This almost feels like, I think she described him as a arachnitar, so like a spider centaur type of deal, and he has like humanoid features to him, which I think gives him that element of it not feeling like bestiality, essentially. I mean, it is rooted in fantasy, so like this doesn't exist, so just kind of have an open mind, okay? Put that out of your mind that this is spider smut, because it really isn't. But I really enjoyed the story. The plot overall was really good, and I would love to continue on the series. I think this one I'm gonna end up rating a 4-star. Yearning for Her is still my favorite out of the 3 that I've read, but I'm very, very excited to continue on in this series because I really do like it. So again, the 3 books that I read just as a wrap up are Yearning for Her, gave this 5 stars. This has definitely made my favorites list. His Darkest Craving, which I gave a 3.75, and then lastly Ensnared, which I gave a 4-star. This one has 2 more in the series, and then this one has another one in the series, but it's a standalone with a goblin, so like you don't have to read them in order. Yeah, so the next book in this series is Enthralled, and then you have Bound. But if you are interested in fantasy, sci-fi, paranormal, like romance with, I think, really good writing, definitely check out Tiffany Roberts. If you are interested, tomorrow, so this video is coming out I believe on July 24th, so tomorrow, July 25th at 10 a.m. Eastern, there is an author interview happening on my channel, and my friend Laura is going to be joining. So this is just going to be really fun to get to know them and to kind of ask them some questions about their books and maybe like their lives or whatever. But yeah, so yeah, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, let me know down below. I do have a couple of other authors lined up, so you will see them on my live tab, but I will be doing vlogs for each of these authors that I'm interviewing as kind of like a taste test and just to kind of read their books before getting to know them. So thanks again for watching today's video, and if you got this far, leave me a purple heart emoji for a 5-star banger here and just like purple haired Willow. Don't forget to like this video, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.